Thank you for being here on this hot summer morning. Welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's number 1008 from the Teal hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but please only with a mask on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, yeah, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we shield the power of each other's faith. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, then our heart is in a holy place.
You may be seated, thank you. Before we begin our service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. And during the service, we will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all of this information, and it is also available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and, per request, by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy or that you would like to contribute, email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. Our first Sunday luncheon is on hiatus during July and August and will resume next month in September. The Concerned UUs of Riverside, CUUR, the Community Outreach Arm, of the Social and Environmental Justice Committee will be meeting in the Social Justice Room on the second floor of the annex at 11. Thank you. You can find more information on the website under Social and Environmental Justice. And Church Council will meet on the second Friday of the month in the annex. The next meeting will be at 4 p.m. on August 12th. And I think that makes it next Sunday, correct? And this concludes our announcements. Oh, sorry, it does not conclude our announcements. We have one more.
I have two announcements. Additionally, someone left some keys to a Nissan vehicle in the church outside. It's on a black strap. So if anyone can claim that, Robert has that. So please see Robert. And also on this Thursday, we have the Zimmerman Concert. It's on the 11th and the admission price is $25. And today is the last Sunday before the concert. So we'd like to invite you all to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for virtual attendees. I'm Tinka Friend, a member of the worship committee, and I will be the worship associate today. Other members of the worship committee that you will hear from include Nick Williams, who will be reading Reverend Friedrichs' sermon, and Alec Peck leading us in our hymns. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. And so Nick, if you will take mine and do it. I forgot to do that before we got here. Now, we invite you to leave your worries and defenses at the door. Trust that what happens in worship will be inspiring and powerful. Together, we affirm that this day and our being here together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser as we begin a new day and a new week. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over. So while we are in the sanctuary, please keep your masks on and socially distance. And now I invite you to sit back, take a slow, deep breath as we move into the sacred worship hour. For our call to worship, you're welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. So today's reading is written by Peter Friedrichs based on the writings of Reverend Forrest Church. Forrest Church served as the spiritual leader of the All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in New York City for nearly 30 years. During his ministry, the church became both a haven for spiritual seekers and a beacon of social outreach to the community. During his lifetime, Church authored and co-authored nearly 20 books on the topics, many topics, ranging from American history to liberal religion and spirituality. He was frequently interviewed as the voice of liberal religion on National Public Radio and local television broadcasts. Reverend Peter Friedrichs recently retired as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. In his work as the pastor of a religiously liberal and socially progressive church, he was privileged to build and sustain relationships of deep meaning with others of diverse backgrounds and to witness the full range of human experience. These interactions shape and inform his writings, through which he hopes to make sense of the struggles and the successes of our daily living. And he is the author of the novel, And the Stars Kept Watch. He lives in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania with his wife and biggest supporter, Irene. They are the proud parents of 2 adult daughters and grandparents of 3 elementary-aged boys. Tinka Friend and Nick Williams have been involved members of UUCR since 1996. They are both longtime members of Al-Anon, and Nick is a member of Alcoholics Anonymous with 35 years of sobriety. Living their lives according to the 12 steps of AA and Al-Anon, as well as incorporating their spiritual principles on a daily basis, has greatly changed their lives for the better. It has also deepened their understanding and love of each other. To recognize those changes, they even had a rededication ceremony here at our church on their 25th anniversary, officiated by Reverend Cynthia Kane, in which they each forgave previous mistakes and dedicated themselves anew to their marriage and to their relationship. 3 weeks ago, they celebrated 48 years of marriage. They knew Reverend Forrest Church's very public spiritual and ministerial shortcomings and struggles prior to his sobriety in the year 2000. Upon reading the 3-part sermons that Reverend Peter Friedrichs wrote about Reverend Church's mantra following his spiritual journey of sobriety and his new journey towards death, they felt a deep connection to his message and to the way they have changed their lives. They believed that his message was an important one that all should hear. So they volunteered to create 3 services. Excuse me. Want what you have, do what you can, and be who you are. They invite all of us to be present during these 3 weeks and to listen to Reverend Church's message and to connect it to each of our own lives. As Reverend Friedrichs prepared his farewell sermon on June 12th of this year, he thought of leaving his congregation with 4 simple words: just love each other. Finding this inadequate, he turned to the writings of Reverend Forrest Church, who lived by this personal mantra: want what you have, do what you can, be who you are. Today we begin a 3-part series previously written by Friedrichs based on these 3 statements by Reverend Forrest Church. The sermon is entitled, Want What You Have. We have 2 lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. And the second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred space of several groups of Indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupena, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and an opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion to our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading of the Chalice Lighting is number 471 in our gray hymnal by L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thank you, Bill. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others, and so I will now ask for a volunteer from someone who has been here a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. We ask you to step close to the mic and speak directly into it and speak clearly so everyone can hear. So do we have a volunteer? So come step forward to the mic, tell us your name, how long you've been here, and how you found out about our church.
Thank you. Good morning, Tinka. My name is Alec, and I actually come from Illinois, and I found myself here when I moved here for school. And I've been a UU for many years, and I came to, and I searched this community and I found the website, which I thought looked really great, and I decided to come, and I've been coming since then. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's how it's done. So if you're new here, or if you're a visitor, or even if you're an old friend, please raise your hand to stand and come up to the mic in front of the pulpit. And if there's anyone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand and we will call on you by Zoom. Please let us know who you are, where you're from, and how you found out about us.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There you go. My name is Myra, and that's my husband, Hakan. We've been coming off and on. We've been bad this couple of times, but we're here again. We found out about the church from our friends, and then because we wanted to just have community and pretty much non-judgmental community that we can just talk to and feel comfortable with. So we're back here again. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shaul Rosenreger, and I'm here with my wife, Renee, and we are from Hemet, or near Hemet. And I got interested in the Unitarian Universalist Church when I was looking for to expand my work on climate, and it just the more I learned about the church, the more I liked it. And there is a small congregation in San Jacinto, and I've been attending that congregation for a few weeks, and I was just curious to see what Riverside looks like. And since there are no services in August in the San Jacinto Valley, we came here, and thank you for having us.
We're so glad that you're here, and we hope that you will be able to to come during the month of August. Anyone else? Anyone online? For any other new guests, please join us for socializing and coffee hour after the service. We'd love to chat with you out in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors book. So if you haven't already done so, please leave your name before you leave so that we know that you were here, and leave your contact information if you want to know about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Now we come to our joys and concerns. It is said that a shared joy is a double joy. A shared sorrow is a half sorrow. On the first Sunday of each month, we share the joys and concerns that we have received from you and which we have collected throughout the month. First, I'm going to read the joys and concerns which were given to us. So in case you didn't know, we have a book that we leave out here that stays out here every Sunday. And so when you come, if you have a joy or a concern that you would like to be acknowledged on the first Sunday of the month, please write them into here. And we do have one written in here. It was written, I think maybe last week. In line with this week's sermon, please remember Janice Levi, who is in hospice. Thanks. And for the newer people, Janice Levi has been a long, decades-long member of this church. And she's over 100 years old. And when you see our sign that is out there, she's responsible for that in memory of her husband. Are there any other joys or concerns that anyone would like to? Please speak your joy and concern aloud. Come up to the mic.
The joy is closer to a shameless plug. After a few years apart from the Dickens Festival, due to COVID and the other stuff, I got the old part that I used to play. If you want to see me play H.G. Wells down at the end of February, there'll be a Dickensian festival, and it's kind of nice to look at. One of the glad joys is that Unitarians were actually pretty good back in the Victorian age for what they did. We've been a consistent light on this planet. So that's nice. On the sadder side, of course, humans notice storms, but they do not notice droughts unless they grow stuff for a living. Bleak times environmentally, please pray for those who have a river running through the middle of their house, or people who are trying to raise corn and the ears are but half the size they need to be. Places where the soil turns back to sand. We don't have a planet B, so if we can possibly keep this place taken care of, be a good thing. And to those who sit there and our first response, my heart.
Thank you, Bill. And anyone else, a joy or a concern that you would like to share with us? Anyone online? Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we've been working for a while with my husband to adopt a baby. And the joy is that we got approved. So it's fostering to adopt. And next week, or in the next couple of weeks, our social worker is just going to come to visit us to see how we are as a couple. But we've been approved, so you guys might see us with a baby very soon.
Oh, congratulations. Wonderful.
Alex Jones has had to admit and pay.
I'll assume that last one was a joy, not a concern. And so I've got a couple joys on my behalf, and I have one concern to share on Margaret's behalf. Two joys. The first one is this past week, my plants have been doing really great. And one of them in particular has been sort of doing a little dance, kind of just swerving all around each morning. It ends up in a different position. So that's been a real joy to watch. And also, over the last month, I got to go to UU summer camp, which I've been going to for almost 20 years, and it's my favorite week of the year. And I had a really great time, and I'm so happy that I got to go, especially since it hasn't been going for a couple of years due to COVID. And then also, Margaret wanted me to share a concern. They are the godparent of a little baby, little William, who currently is in Margaret's lap. And the concern is that baby William has a fever of unknown origin, and it doesn't seem super serious, but they're hoping, of course, that baby William feels better soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else? And Adam, still nobody requesting for online? Maggie, would you come forward to help me place a stone in the water chalice to represent the joys and concerns that we have shared here in our church community, and in recognition of those that we hold close and have not shared? May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. Thank you. Our hymn now is number 346. Come sing a song with me, from the gray hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but please only with a mask on. Please stand in body or in spirit and join us in singing 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, that I might know your light, and I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find, and I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Please be seated. This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church, and this can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is on the church's website and also in the newsletter. And Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage. So people can buy that today, the Stater Brothers cards. So you can do that after church services. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. And thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. And will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, from the Gray Hymnal. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but again, only with a mask on. The words will also be presented on the behind me. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive,
Our meditation is titled, Our Many-Paned Window of Life, written by me, inspired by Reverend Forrest Church's words that you're going to hear again later on in the sermon. So please get comfortable, close your eyes, and let the images that the words create wash over you as you listen to the voices of Tinka and Nick. Imagine that our lives are made up of a large window with many window panes. Each one is an aspect of our life: job, hobbies, interests, health, relationships.
Clear and bright, and others clouded over, perhaps even shaded or opaque.
While we may be enjoying a productive time in our work lives, things at home might be strained. Or perhaps we are deliriously and deliciously in love with a new mate, but it strains our other relationships.
Some of our pains are rosy and allow the light to stream in, while others are foggy or even boarded up. We tend to focus on and obsess about the cloudy window panes to the exclusion of the sunny ones.
We press our nose up against that one frame, deliberately trying to see through it. And when we do, we lose all sense of proportion. Our entire world goes black.
The effect of this response to a darkened window pane, with our noses up against it, is that we lose sight of other panes that remain clear and bright.
When one of our window panes goes dark, we literally lose sight of the things in our lives that are positive, life-affirming, and life-giving.
We are urged to step back from the darkened, opaque window pane so that we can see and appreciate all the other panes that remain brightly illuminated.
Wanting what we have enables us to live fully in the present with an appreciation of all the gifts of our lives and an acceptance of those things that we would never consciously wish upon ourselves. So,
Step back and take in the full beauty of all the panes of your life's window.
Now let us pause for a moment of silence so we can absorb this message into our essence of being. Am I waiting for a second gong? Okay. Now I would like to introduce Nick. There it is. I knew there was a second gong. Okay, now I would like to introduce Nick Williams presenting the sermon, Want What You Have by Peter Friedrichs.
Want what you have, and you always get what you want. The Buddha. Happiness is not having what you want, but wanting what you have. Rabbi Haman Schlichtail. Tinka and I will be presenting the next three services, focusing on the wisdom of Reverend Forrest Church, written by Peter Friedrichs. Because this was written in the months right after Forrest Church died, 13 years ago, some minor editing to the sermons was necessary for continuity and clarity. After I have read what Peter Friedrichs wrote, I will share some words of my own and provide an opportunity for anyone else to share. So, as you listen to the lessons of wisdom that Forrest Church discovered before his death, look inward and see if it relates to anything you have experienced in your own life. And if it has, and you feel comfortable doing so, please briefly share that with us after the sermon is read. Want What You Have by Peter Friedrichs. For nearly 30 years, Forrest Church served as a spiritual leader of the All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in New York City. During his ministry, the church became both a haven for spiritual seekers and a beacon of social outreach to the community. He helped to found a shelter for homeless women in Harlem, a scouting program for boys and girls at a welfare hotel, and a soup kitchen adjacent to the church. During his lifetime, Church authored and co-authored nearly 20 books on topics ranging from American history to liberal religion and spirituality. He was frequently interviewed as the voice of liberal religion on national public radio and local television broadcasts. When he was called to All Souls, the attendance hovered at around 100 and grew to more than 1,000. By all measures, Church's ministry was public, prolific, and powerful. But as with all of us, frail and fallible human beings, Forrest fought his demons too. In the year 2000, he acknowledged his alcoholism, joined AA, and remained sober for the remaining years of his life. He faced other struggles as well, and what perhaps made him a popular pastor and preacher is that he faced these struggles head on, and he used them to inform his ministry of compassion and hope. In February 2008, he informed his congregation that he had been diagnosed with esophageal cancer and that the doctors expected him to live but a few more months. With this death sentence in hand, Forrest did what he did best. He picked up his pencil and paper and began to write. The book that resulted from these efforts is called Love and Death: My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow. He expected this to be his final work, but as a result of an experimental treatment for his disease, he lived longer than predicted, and he managed to pen one final work entitled The Cathedral of the World, a Universalist Theology. That work was published by Beacon Press not long after Forrest's death in September 2009. In an interview conducted shortly before he died, Forrest Church described the importance of writing Love and Death. He said that it allowed me to write a coda to my pastoral theology, to my lifelong belief that love and death interwoven are the heartstrings of religion. He goes on to say, I have a mantra that I've come to live by over the past few years, and it served me very well. It is, want what you have, do what you can, be who you are. Want what you have, do what you can, be who you are. As a summary of a philosophy, a theology, a statement of faith, and a way of life, these three statements warrant some attention. And so, in tribute to Forrest Church, a colleague whom I never knew, but whose words and life have touched me deeply, I will spend 3 Sundays unpacking these statements. This Sunday, I am reflecting on the first one, want what you have. Want what you have seem like strange words coming from someone who was diagnosed with a terminal disease at a relatively young age. He died at age 61. No one wants to have cancer at any age. To understand Forrest Church's prescriptive, we need to put it into a larger context, a context provided both elsewhere in Love and Death and in an earlier book of his called Freedom from Fear. In Love and Death, as in some of his other works of theological reflection, Church asks us to imagine that our lives are made up of a large window with many panes. If you like, you could use the image of a stained glass window. Each pane is made up of some aspect of our life, our job, our hobbies and interests, our health, our relationship with our partner or spouse, or with our children. At any given time in our lives, he tells us, some of these panes are going to be clear and bright, with the sun shining through them, and others bound to be clouded over and perhaps even shaded or opaque. While we may be enjoying a particularly productive time in our work lives, things at home with our partner might be strained. Perhaps we're deliciously and deliriously in love with the new mate, but it strains our other relationships with friends. You get the idea. Some of our windows are rosy and allow the light to stream in, while others may be a bit foggy or even boarded up. Forrest states that as human beings, we have an inclination to focus on and even perhaps to obsess about the cloudy window panes to the exclusion of the sunny ones. The tendency, he writes, is to press our nose up against that one frame, desperately trying to see through it. When we do this, he continues, we lose all sense of proportion and our world goes black. The effect of this response to a darkened window pane, pressing our noses up against it, is that we then lose sight of the other panes that remain clearer and bright. The black cloud of the unreasonable boss at work is carried home to darken our family relations. The betrayal by a friend makes all our friendships suspect. When our health is compromised, all we can see ahead is a lifetime of disability and pain. When one of our window panes goes dark, church tells us, we literally lose sight of the things in our life that are positive and life-affirming and life-giving. The other aspect that bears when church's advice to want what you have is found in a book he wrote before he was diagnosed with cancer. In Freedom from Fear, church warns against engaging in wishful thinking. Instead, he urges us to practice what he calls thoughtful wishing. His premise is that wishful thinking leads to certain disappointment, a disappointment that can easily blossom into paralyzing fear. Until we learn to wish for the right things, he writes, what we wish for will only come true by accident. What's worse, if we wish for the wrong things, the fear of disappointment will dog us from one broken dream to the next. He goes on to tell us that happiness doesn't follow when we long for what we lack, for things we have lost or shall likely never find. Longing for something we may find in the future distracts us from enjoying the present. Wishful thinking is both sloppy and sentimental. Forrest urges us not to engage in wishful thinking, but in thoughtful wishing. Wishing, he says, for what is ours here and now, to have, do, or be. In his later book, Love and Death, he states it slightly differently. Pray for the right things, he says, and your prayers will be answered. Some examples of thoughtful wishes or the right things to pray for include the courage to bear up under pain, the liberation that comes with forgiveness, the joy to be gained in even the smallest task, and the wonder that lies between the sacred moments of our birth and our death. And so it is through these two lenses, the lenses of our lives as many paned windows and the lenses of thoughtful wishing, that Forrest urges us to want what we have. Wanting what we have encourages us to wish for things thoughtfully and to pray for the right things. It urges us to step back from the darkened, opaque window pane that we have our noses pressed against, so that we can see and appreciate all the other panes that remain brightly illuminated. Wanting what we have enables us to live fully in the present with an appreciation of the gifts of our lives and an acceptance of those things that we would never consciously wish upon ourselves. I think it is important to spend a few minutes talking about what we want, talking about what what we have does not mean. First and foremost, wanting what we have is not about tacitly accepting our fate or condition. It is not about giving up or giving in. It does not mean that we have to stay in an abusive relationship and to embrace an illness that can and should be treated as aggressively as possible. To want what we have is not to relinquish our responsibility to care for ourselves and for others, or to look at the suffering, pain, and injustice in the world and say, c'est la vie. Forrest Church treated his aggressive form of cancer aggressively, even undergoing an experimental treatment that added more than a year to his life. Wanting what we have does not require us to just sit back and take it. Wanting what we have, similarly, is not letting go of the natural yearnings that we have as human beings. We will, I believe, always desire more of the good things in our lives, more love, deeper connection, greater meaning and purpose. To want what we have does not call us to rest contentedly with our situation or the status quo, and it does not negate or nullify ambition. Marianne Williamson famously tells us that we are powerful beyond measure, that we are brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. Wanting what we have is not living small. Rather, it means tending to all the panes in our window to allow as much light as possible to shine in, to allow as much of our own light as we possess to shine out into the world. Finally, wanting what we have does not require us to become boring and dull, or to forego imagination and creativity. While thoughtful wishing probably tells us that we shouldn't waste our time praying that we'll win the lottery, I would say that there's no harm in dreaming and daydreaming. We must remain Imagineers and co-creators of our own lives, caretakers of wonder. Fantasy can be a powerful release. Wanting what we have just means that we should not become consumed by the fantasy, constantly living in a world of what ifs and if evers. For if we do, we're sure to end up disappointed and depressed, infecting our real lives, which contain real goodness, with our disillusionment. To want what we have is to engage in a deep spiritual practice of appreciation. We've all heard the lines from the Joni Mitchell song, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone." Wanting what we have calls us to constantly keep in our awareness the things that we would miss, the things that we would long for terribly were they to be taken from us. When we want what we have, we don't take things for granted. To use Forrest's language, we see all the panes of the window, the bright clear ones and the cloudy ones alike, and we are grateful for the light that shines through them. Wanting what we have helps us to know and to love what we've got before it's gone. Wanting what we have is not a passive exercise. Want, desire, acceptance, and appreciation are acts of volition. It calls us to make a choice between longing for some other state, some other perhaps unspecified place, anywhere but here, thank you very much, and where we are, living with what we've got. It requires us to actively engage in our lives as they are now, to live our lives with deep meaning and conviction, even if they're not the lives we might have hoped for or planned for. To want what we have calls our attention back from the other side of the fence where the greener grass of our fantasy beckons, and asks us to apply energies to tending our own yards, to digging out our own weeds, and to making our own lawns more beautiful. I have no doubt that there are those here today who do not want what they have: fear of losing a job, anxiety over the choices the loved one is making, depression that life has not worked out the way that we planned it. It seems almost trite to say it, but the truth is that life is hard, really hard sometimes, maybe all the time. And often we wish it were otherwise. We pray for salvation from the pain and suffering, and sometimes we seek relief and release in ways that are hurtful to ourselves and to others. With our face pressed up against the darkest pane of glass, we are unable to see anything but darkness. And yet, whether we see it or not, the light shines in through all those other panes. The light of the morning sun rising each day, the light of our child's smile, the light of a friend's constant companionship, the light of life, which is our single greatest gift. These are the things we have and that we can hold on to. And if we do, we will never go wanting. This ends the sermon by Peter Friedrichs. Many of the people in this church know that I, like Forrest Church, am a recovering alcoholic. In just a few months, I will have 36 years of sobriety. Even though I got sober about 15 years before him, we shared similar experiences. Like him, I was able to keep it a secret from work, friends, and family. We both struggled to cut back on our drinking. It was because of our wives' insistence that we sought help. We both went to AA, then decided we didn't need those meetings. And of course, we went back to drinking. We found both ourselves going back to AA, doing the hard work, and achieving sobriety. After committing himself to the program and to sobriety, Forrest, luckily, was relieved of his desire to drink after just a few months. I, on the other hand, struggled with it for several years. It was during the first year or two that I was faced with the message of today's sermon: want what you have. I was not happy in sobriety. I complained about what I was giving up, what I couldn't have but wanted. I was always angry with my wife and what she had forced me to do. I no longer had loving feelings in our relationship and felt that we should end it. I made a close friend in recovery, Bill Lom. He had 6 months more sobriety than I did. Sorry, Bill didn't make it. He died about 3 years after this talk that he had with me. He had 6 months more sobriety than I did. After hearing my complaints for about a year, he sat me down and fervently told me to stop it. She was really so bad, and I really wanted out of the relationship. I would have already left. But since I was still there, I really wanted to be there with my wife. So even if I didn't feel like it, I should start acting like I wanted to be with her. Stop focusing on what I want but don't have, and focus instead on what I do have and start wanting that. Using Forrest Church's imagery, I needed to stop pressing my nose against the dark window pane of my resentment towards my wife and pull back to see through all the other pains, to see the blessings of my life that I now had as a result of my sobriety. A job, new sober friends, increasing self-respect, an opportunity to grow into a better person. I grudgingly listened to him and started acting like I wanted to be there with her. And eventually, I realized that the loving feelings had returned. I did still want to be with her. And just a few weeks ago, we celebrated 48 years of marriage. Is there anyone else here who's had a profound experience of the lesson of want what you have and would like to briefly share it with us at the microphone?
You speak of wanting what you have. One of the things that caught me is when I went for this part, small, but it makes me very happy. It suddenly strikes me that I have a certain amount of ambient gifts. When we talk about what we have, there's nothing stopping me from taking an acting course or two. No, I do not think I'm the next Keanu Reeves. No, there's a billion actors out there, it seems, that I will not be replacing anytime soon. But to realize that I've got small moments of the gift of gab. I have moments when, like all the rest of you, when I can light up a room and be a source for good of the land, or at least in that room. So when we talk about what we need, maybe it's about time I got my dead took us over and maybe looked at some community theater. The tools that we have, some of them have been sitting in the back of our truck, our spiritual truck, for a very long time. And why not me?
Thank you.
Hello? Everybody hear me? Up a little bit. So a little over a year ago, I had a very risky surgery to have a pituitary tumor removed. And that's obviously was a very scary moment in my life. And I think one of the things that really helped me get through that moment was appreciating the life I was given up to that moment. Because this, if you don't know, the pituitary gland is right between your sinuses and your optic nerve, which is a very delicate part in your head. So I didn't know, they made me very, very well of the risks of that surgery, but I came into that with a very strong appreciation of what I was able to do with, at that time, the 39 years of my life. And having gone through that, I still hold that appreciation, and the term that we hear like of living on borrowed time. I just take more appreciation of the life I continue to have, and to continue to build on that appreciation. So
Your name, please?
Hakan Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more? Anyone else?
Thank you. Our closing hymn is number 100, I've Got Peace Like a River. It's from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but only with a mask on. So please stand in body and spirit and join us singing hymn 100, I've Got Peace Like a River.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul, in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul, in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul, in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul, in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul, in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul, in my soul.
It is tempting to seek meaning not in what we have, but in what we desire. When we do this, we practice wishful thinking. Of the enemies that frustrate our search for meaning, this is perhaps the most treacherous. It places fulfillment forever beyond our reach in what we do not have, in what we cannot do, in what we shall never be. Meaning doesn't emerge from longing for what we lack, things we've lost or will likely never find. We should wish to think instead for things closer at hand, like the sun's kiss good morning when it breaks through the blinds to inaugurate another miracle, another day. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. Thank you, Nick, for sharing the reading, your experiences, and valuable time and insights with us this morning. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you all for joining us here today, and now we invite you in the parish hall for fellowship. And I also want to offer, I'm the docent here at the church, and this is a historical church. So I know we have some newer people that are here. If you would like, after services, I can give you like a quick little historical background about the church and the windows and things if you would like. Thank you.